Welcome to Animated News, your #1 news source for wacky and yet honest news stories. In today's latest developments, ex-President Trump continues to be under the microscope for a bevy of alleged misdeeds during his tenure in the White House. Queen Elizabeth II has passed away, leaving his son, Charles III, as the new head of the British monarchy. Also, Jimmy Smith reporting live from the Street of America. But first we have a special guest, Dr. Bernard Pogo, whom is a life counselor, and is here to share some sage advice for our viewers.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm Dr. Bernard Pogo. Today I'm gonna address the elephant in the media, The Little Mermaid, a beloved childhood movie that lives in all our hearts. But, is it justified, or is it another pointless argument? Well, according to experts, that depends on the point of views of the critics. Some argued that The Little Mermaid is a fantasy story, so it doesn't matter what race the character is. Others may argue, diversity is empowering, and shows the reality of today's world. While others asked a very fair question. Do we respect the source material? For example, Pinocchio, the story of a wooden puppet whom wanted to become a real boy. The story of Pinocchio wouldn't be the same if Pinocchio were made out of metal, now would it? Hadouken! Of course not, because of the source material. Before anyone jump into the comment section and start with the negative reviews, allow me to explain. The original Little Mermaid was a fairy tale, written by a Danish author, Hans Christian Andersen. The story follows the journey of a young mermaid who is willing to give up her life in the sea as a mermaid to gain a human soul. The tale was first published in 1837. Quickly we noticed that the creator was a Danish author, Hans Christian Andersen. A Danish man from Denmark. This is a picture of the author. And this is a picture of the 1837 Little Mermaid book cover. The author described the Little Mermaid as he saw a typical young Danish woman of his time. White, fair skin and beautiful red hair. If you Google, what Danish people look like, you will soon find that most women are white with blonde or red hair. No, only that, The Little Mermaid has become more than a fairy tale to the people of Denmark. In 1913, a bronze statue depicting a mermaid becoming human was erected in Copenhagen, Denmark. The sculpture still on display today. It's located on a rock by the waterside at the Langelani Promenade. This is a picture of the statue. Mermaid is among the iconic statues that symbolize cities. Others include the Statue of Liberty in New York and Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, amongst others. Thus, one can imagine the jubilation of the Danish people back in 1989, when a Walt Disney animated film, based upon their national statue, was introduced to the world. However, before Disney came along, the country of Russia made the first adaptation of the book into the big screen. This 1976 Russian feature film was directed by Vladimir Bychkov, and starred Victoria Novikova as the mermaid. This is a picture of the poster for that movie. But, let's get back to Disney's 1989 The Little Mermaid. The plot borrows many key elements from the original story that Hans Christian Andersen wrote. Of course, changes were necessary since children were the target audience. Let's talk about Ariel's design. Ariel's look was inspired from a young female actor who was popular at the time. Alyssa Milano. These are some pictures of Alyssa Milano at the time. According to Yahoo, Alyssa Milano is the inspiration behind the young princess. Milano revealed on the Wendy Williams show that she was the model for Ariel. However, she had no idea that the creators based the character on her during the movie's production. Here is a video of Alyssa Milano on the Wendy Williams show.
I was born in Brooklyn, and I grew up in Staten Island.
Staten Island. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to clear up a rumor. So there's this really interesting rumor about you floating around, and it says that you were the inspiration for Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Were you the inspiration for this character?
I actually was, yeah.
Really?
Which I didn't know when it was going on. I didn't know that when it was going on, but I did. They asked me to host the making of The Little Mermaid, and it came out there that the drawing and likeness of The Little Mermaid was based on pictures of me from when I was younger. Which is so cool.
Doesn't that just make you want to dye your hair red and wear clamshell bra all the time?
Yes, that's how I walk around at home. Yes.
Well, as usual, delightful conversation with Alyssa Milano, everybody.
As we can see, the source for this specific mermaid came from the mind of a Danish man, who based her looks in close resemblance to that of a young woman from Denmark. In the 1976 Russian film, the actress who played the main character, Victoria Novikova, had the appearance of a young, white, Nordic woman with reddish hair. Even in the 1989 Disney film, one can understand the nostalgia by parents, or grandparents as they watch the film with their loved ones, as a new generation gets introduced to this particular story. After all, this fable has been passed down, shared, and treasured by so many over the last 100 years. Nevertheless, we got to be open-minded, and try to understand why Disney might be racial swapping The Little Mermaid. In 2018, a live-action adaptation of the Little Mermaid movie was released on theaters. This is a poster for that movie. But, the movie had nothing to do with Disney. And how can this be so, many may wonder. Well, because America's copyrights and public domain laws. Any story made before 1923 is fair game, and since The Little Mermaid was published in 1837, we are closer to the 200th anniversary mark than any other mark for this franchise. Now, let us understand the 2018 version. The film was released on August 17, 2018, by AMC Theaters, and it grossed $2.6 million on a budget of $5 million. You heard that right. The movie made $2.6 million on a budget of $5 million.
Emotional damage!
This was catastrophic. Luckily for the investors and producers of the film, the movie got picked up by Netflix. Now, Disney, who has been remaking their archives of animated films into live action, saw this as an irreversible gamble if they were to remake The Little Mermaid just 4 years after the box office failure that came from the same source material. Thus, they went back to the drawing board and came back out with a new recipe. They decided to racially swap Ariel's character. They knew this would bring controversy, yet they know controversy sells. They also know the appetite in the consumer's market for black heroes representation, as they had experienced this firsthand with the Black Panther. Thus, we now have this new version. Let's have a look at the trailer.
Out of the sea, wish I could be part of that world.
Personally, I think she looks beautiful, her voice is enchanting. And, quite frankly, there is great potential here. In conclusion, for those who hated the idea of this new version, think it over from a diverse perspective. From a business perspective, this was one of the best solutions Disney could have come up with. Otherwise, they would have had to wait at least 10 years to distance themselves from the 2018 film fiasco. From Animated News, I am Dr. Bernard Pogo, and this has been a sage advice to everyone who would listen. Back to you, Brendan.